Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Coming off a really busy weekend, we had UFC 203 Saturday night with CM Punk's UFC debut, followed by the first SmackDown branded pay-per-view since the brand split in July, or in June, rather, tonight with WWE Backlash. Vince, what'd you think of the pay-per-view?
I got to tell you, Raj, I have my thoughts. First of all, Raj, I just want to set the record straight because, while I'm on Twitter all night, I get these comments that, oh, Russo must be screaming at the computer screen, and, oh, Russo's going to complain about this, and Russo's got to complain about this. I just have to make somebody understand, when I do these shows, and I mean this as a shoot, Raj, I would have to somehow, some way be invested for me to really care. The fact of the matter is, I don't care about the outcomes. I don't care who wins and loses matches. I'm not screaming at my TV because of the Bray Wyatt situation. I just wish people would understand that I try to look at these shows as a professional based on my background and my experience. If I were a movie critic, it would be no different than me reviewing a movie. I wouldn't have vested interest in that movie. I would just be calling it the way I see it. So with that being said, I do want to say this. There are things I would have done differently, but I was not bored at any time during this pay-per-view. It kept my attention. It was a little short at 2, I noticed. It kept my attention for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So, I wasn't bored. There's not a right way and a wrong way to do things in wrestling because you make the stuff up. So, you could do it any way you want. But I will just explain, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I would have done differently, and why.
All right, definitely. So we will get into that. And then after we go over the pay-per-view, we'll talk a little bit about CM Punk's UFC debut last night at UFC 203. As you can see, Matt Morgan isn't here tonight. He is having some technical difficulties that he's hoping to get fixed by tomorrow night for the post Monday Night Raw Wrestling podcast. So hopefully he'll be back by that. But let's start off right with the main event, and then we'll work our way back up. AJ Styles becoming one of the few people to have held the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and now also winning the WWE Championship. But this is kind of different because AJ Styles is the first TNA guy to win the WWE Championship. Vince, what did you think? Were you surprised by that outcome?
Well, I think it speaks volumes for AJ as a human being. And this is where I could really give insight because I worked with AJ for 10 years. And, AJ's just a great, great human being. He's not into politics. He's not into that environment at all. He's just a straight up good guy. And I think, again, being the only guy to ever win the TNA World title and now the WWE World title, I think that speaks volumes for AJ as a human being. So I'm very, very happy for AJ.
Yeah, some people saying there have been other WWE and TNA champions, and I realize that, but this is the first time that you've seen someone who made their name in TNA winning the WWE Championship. Right. It's usually been the other way around, where Kurt Angle or Rob Van Dam or Jeff Hardy won the TNA World Championship. What'd you think of the match itself?
Well, Raj, again, this is just me. It's just me. And, it's just my view. Bro, sometimes I just think it's just too much. It's just too much. I mean, the stuff these guys hit each other with, they would never be able to get back up. So after a while, with me anyway, I just become so numb to it. Everybody's going to kick out of everything. Man, I swear there was one spot right at the end, Raj, right before the kick to the lawyer groin region, let me say. But they went through this absolute hell, Raj, hitting everything with everything, hitting each other with everything. Both of these guys should have been dead out on their feet. This is what I don't like. About a minute before the match ended, AJ catches Dean Ambrose with the Pele kick. Ambrose doesn't even sell the Pele kick after what they went through. That's where I have my problems. That's what always takes me out of it. So, again, bro, they did everything that, that crowd is going to love it. But for me, it's just too much and it's just overkill.
Gotcha. I agree with you a lot of the times. But I felt like in this case, they weren't necessarily kicking out of each other's finishers, unless I missed that. I don't think Styles ever kicked out of Dirty Deeds. Again, unless I missed that. But to me, this match made this pay-per-view for me. I thought up until this point, it felt almost like a pre-show, like a really long pre-show at SummerSlam. The crowd just never seemed that energized, and I thought this match just kind of turned the show around. And I thought it was a great ending. Dean Ambrose, I don't know, he just been kind of stagnant as champ, as the guy on top. He just hasn't really fit the role as well as I thought he would. So
yeah, well, Raj, remember we were talking about this early on and stuff, and man, you just kind of felt like from the beginning that like Ambrose was just a placeholder. I mean, and I think a lot of it had to do with just the way he was booked. You just never felt like they were putting much credence into him as a champ, or they were really going to give him the opportunity to prove that, he could do it. So I think the feeling all along has been that, he's been a placeholder for the title.
Right. Well, let's get to the pay-per-view. It started off the pre-show. They added a match kind of at the last minute between Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews. Baron Corbin got the win there clean with the end of days. Then the pay-per-view kicked off. They had a nice little text or whatever, remembering 9/11 and the 15-year anniversary of that tragedy. So that was nice. And then we moved to our first match, which was the 6-pack women's challenge. Vince, did you think the right person won that match with Becky Lynch
definitely
winning?
Yeah, I thought no doubt about it going in, Becky was going to win. I think they picked the right girl. I think she's earned it. I think she's worked really, really hard. With the selection you have at SmackDown right now, I think she was the one that should have won this match.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought she was the most over with the crowd. She was the betting favorite. Again, a lot of people wonder why we post the odds and just thinking it's BS. The results are linked ahead of time, and every time the betting odds win. So if you see the betting odds and you don't want to be spoiled before a pay-per-view, don't click on it. But yeah, I thought this was a good match. Fans were chanting "This is awesome" early on, which just drives me nuts sometimes nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was a good match for what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match for what it was. It's funny with the girls, Raj, because like they'll have good matches. I mean, there's no question about that. But man, very rarely do you see a women's match where there isn't something sloppy. And I mean, there were a couple sloppy spots in this match. I mean, the good spots, overshine the sloppy ones. But man, it seems like always with the girls, I don't know what it is, but there's always a sloppy spot or two. There were a couple of real sloppy spots with Carmella. But at the end of the day, they put it on the right girl. So I think they did the right thing here.
Yeah. So the first elimination was Naomi pinning Alexa Bliss. After that, Naomi, one of the weird spots you were talking about, she was doing this head scissor spot to Natalya. That took a while. That took a while. It was a little contrived. It was a little botched. But finally got it. Natalya got Naomi in the sharpshooter, causing Naomi to tap, and she was out of the match. Then Natalya was out next via Nikki Bella. Then Carmella quickly rolled up Nikki for the pin. And finally, it came down to Becky and Carmella, and Becky won clean with the disarm her. Then we went to a backstage segment with Jagger Eaton, who I had never heard of before tonight, and The Miz. To me, if you're showing somebody that probably, I don't know how famous this guy is, I'd never heard of him, but you're showing this guy and treating him like a star, I think it just makes the brand look desperate. Like, this is what you need to, this is what you think a star is.
Well, Raj, you know what's so confusing to me, bro? Bro, I remember when we started making the transition to the Attitude Era, we had to stop doing business with some of our sponsors. I mean, we did. At the time, if people remember, it was Skittles Taste the Rainbow. At the same time, Austin's going out flashing middle fingers. So we severed that relationship because we realized, okay, this is now 100% adult programming. We didn't want to send a mixed message. Here's where I get so confused with the WWE, because if you notice, when Becky Lynch won, they're showing the shots of the little girls in the audience. Then whoever this kid was, I mean, he was like a teenage idol, I guess. I never heard of the guy in my life. So now we got the teenage idol. And then, you have spots with like Kane and Bray Wyatt that are like just 100% violence. And, you see those guys in the front row all wearing their Bullet Club T-shirts that look like they haven't bathed in months, and they're zooming in on these guys, and I'm just like what? I always ask myself when I watch a WWE show, what is this? Like, who is I'm seeing little girls, I'm seeing teenage idols, I'm seeing guys in their 20s that look like they don't bathe. That's what confuses me. I don't know who the audience is half the time.
Yeah, I think I think they don't really know either, but they just want to make sure it's not just adults, that they get the kids in there. But yeah, Jagger Eaton apparently.
Who was he? I mean, Raj? I mean, do you know who he is? I don't know. I'm seriously, I have no idea.
Honestly, I'd never heard that name before today. When I first saw Jagger Eaton, I was like, is this like kid related to Bobby Eaton somehow? And then he said he was on Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon, yeah.
So yeah, that's my daughters are too young for that demo, and I'm way too old. So
yeah.
But it just seemed it unless it's a mainstream celebrity that most people know, I just don't think you should be treating them like a big deal. I think it brings you down. The Usos were out, the second chance tag team tournament match. They changed their look. They're heels now. I thought they looked good. I thought they changed it well. They look like heels. I think they need to change their theme. It's still a little too baby facey, but I thought they looked great. What'd you think?
Yeah, I've been calling this for months. I mean, I think the time they should have done this was when they were at Roman Reigns' side. And I think at that point they had an opportunity to really give these guys an edge, have them take off the makeup, have them take off the neon colors. And I think they would have meant a lot more at that point in time. They didn't do it then, but at least they've done it now. So, I mean, it's good that they gave those guys a little bit of a change.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't all for them losing clean, kind of like the first night they debut as heels, like later on. But we'll get to that. But here the Usos picked up the win, defeating Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. Vince, what are your thoughts on Ryder and
well, my thoughts are again, Raj, I don't watch NXT. So if I don't watch NXT, I'm looking at these two guys, and look at the SmackDown background. Two questions: who are these guys, and why do I care about them? And, the reason I have nothing against these guys, but the reason I don't care about them is that WWE hasn't given me a reason to care about them. So going into this match, I don't care about these guys.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, I think Mojo Rawley, just that personality. I just think it's just way too annoying to get over with the casual, with the fan base. I think he's got to be a heel. I don't know if that's just me, but I just find his stuff just grating on the nerves. There's a backstage promo with Slater and Rhino. Kind of to your point about knowing your target audience. This ended with Slater crapping his pants. You've booked odd couple pairings before. I like this pairing.
I did. No, bro. That vignette a couple of weeks ago, Raj, was one of the highlights of SmackDown, I think, since the split. I mean, and last week I'm begging them to do a second one, but of course, no, they're right back in the ring, and I'm like, God, when you guys have something good, do you not even know it?
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. And then I think let me see. We went to Miz versus Dolph Ziggler next. Over the weekend, Dolph Ziggler was actually favored to win this match. And then something changed today, and then the Miz became the favorite this afternoon. So I guess plans changed this afternoon. it just felt like the whole match, there's just this constant buzz of booing, like this light booing. But I just felt like the fans never got into it. Ziggler, again, losing. Maurice sprayed Ziggler with some arrogance, or I don't know, I forget what that cologne was that Rick Martel used to have. And The Miz won the match. Vince, what'd you think?
Well, you know, listen, I'm a big proponent for, you know, some of the guys they got to keep going with. So I have no problem with them going with Miz and Maurice. I think Miz has been one of the standout guys on SmackDown. I think his promos have been better than everybody else. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous to look at. So I like that we've got to roll with somebody. They tried to protect, you know, Ziggler a little bit with the arrogance, and that was the name of it. So, you know, that's kind of his out, and they tried to protect him. But God, Raj, they have to do something with Ziggler. I mean, they just have to do something. Whether he beats the crap out of Daniel Bryan in the back, I mean, something. They just, you know the deal with Ziggler. And, you know, again, they tried to protect him. I'll give them credit for that, but they didn't protect anybody. It did not elevate him whatsoever. They need to do something drastic with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's, you know, pretty much lost he's lost every major pay-per-view match this year. He's had some kickoffs. Every time it looks like they're going to give him something, and then he's back to losing nonstop. And that's been kind of the story of his career. They, like, you know, stick out a nugget and then, you know, just swallow it, and then, I don't know. Bad analogy. But anyway, it's unfortunate. The guy's got a lot of talent. And you're looking at this pay-per-view, and one thing that really came out to me was just how shallow the SmackDown talent pool is. They were able to get away with it on a 2-hour show, but it's the whole roster pretty much out there every week. And I thought this pay-per-view really highlighted that. You had 6 matches on the main card, and you really couldn't add many others because it would just be really, really low-end matches if you did.
Yeah, I agree.
They did Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. Orton hasn't wrestled since SummerSlam. Well,
Raj, you got to back this up, because this was the worst thing I saw on the show. And, bro, this is exactly the WWE's problem. They all live in the bubble, and they don't see things that are so ridiculously stupid. And that's what drives me freaking crazy. Why are guys having a fight in the back? Okay, Wyatt, and it wasn't really a fight. He was already laid out. Wyatt and Orton. And why is a referee acting like a freaking referee in a fight in the back? It is so stupid. And here's the thing, like the whoever is producing that shot, whoever is writing that shot, do they not see how stupid and ridiculous it looks when the referee is literally acting like he's in a ring? It's things like that why the WWE can't move forward, because they all live in this bubble. They don't want to bring in any new blood with new eyes, and they do things like this that just look absolutely stupid. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it was horrible.
Well, so Randy Orton legit, I guess, has a concussion, or that's what it appears to be, and was not cleared. How would you have gone about taking him out of this match then? Just make an announcement, or shoot an angle?
I didn't have a problem with that at all. It was just the referee acting like a referee. I mean, it was just that was horrible. I had no problem with what they did, just the way they did it, you know?
Yeah. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. It looks like it was probably from those elbows that Brock Lesnar dropped on him at SummerSlam. So then Bray Wyatt gets a countout win. You know, that's Bray Wyatt's first singles pay-per-view win in a year since he beat Roman Reigns last July. So that kind of tells you of at a time when you need top heels, that's someone that's not really being protected. So, and speaking of which, then out came Kane. They had an impromptu match, which I thought was pretty good. You know, Kane's almost 50. His physique is starting to show it a little bit.
That's so hard to believe. My God. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. He's to be still be going out there matches like this at his size and being almost 50, it's insane. But yeah, they really worked hard in this match. Wyatt hit Kane with the senton through the table on the outside. Then Orton came out. Apparently he was okay enough to hit an RKO, and Kane got the pin. Like this match until the finish. What'd you think?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I was scratching my head on this because, I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but didn't it make Orton look like a wuss? Like he couldn't compete in the match, but he was healthy enough to walk down to the ring and deliver an RKO. Now, that's a very heelish move, and I mean, I kind of see that could kind of work in the realm of Orton's character. But it's still, to me, it came off like he was a little bit of a wuss for you couldn't wrestle the match, but you were healthy enough to come out and give Bray an RKO. I don't think that made him look well.
Yeah, and I don't know if Bray Wyatt should be pushed as a bigger star than Kane. You can easily have done something where you have Wyatt come out. Wyatt beat Kane. Orton comes out, gives him the RKO after the match. And you still accomplish the same thing without beating Bray Wyatt once again.
Yep. And why wouldn't you do that? Like, what is the reasoning for not doing that?
Right, exactly. So you had that. And then after that, you had the Tag Team Championship Tournament Finals. The Usos against Rhino and Heath Slater. Again, I thought this match, it was fine. It didn't really stand out or anything to me, but Rhino and Heath Slater won the match clean. I thought they should have won just based on the storyline where Slater, has a contract and on the line. So I was good with it, but I didn't think they should have beaten the Usos clean, especially when they just turned heel.
Yeah. Well, Raj, I wasn't good with them winning for several reasons. First of all, let me say, and I already told you this, I've become a big fan of this team. I liked Rhino a lot to begin with, and Slater with the promo with Beulah really won my heart over. So I like this team a lot, okay? However, under these circumstances, with a new change in attitude and a new look with the Usos, I thought it would have helped both teams better if the Usos would have won the match, and then you would have let Rhino and Slater chase, get their rematch, chase, do a little bit of a program, because I think then it would have meant a little bit more if they would have won on the other side of it. And I think that also would have protected the Usos a little bit more. So I'm a big fan of this team, but I don't think I would have had them win this match here.
Yeah, I think that the plan right now is for the Usos to go with American Alpha. I'm not sure who Heath Slater and Rhino, because there's not really a top heel tag team other than the Usos. So I'm not sure who you pair them up with. Just in general, with SmackDown, have you been keeping up with it? I know you watch Raw every week.
Yeah, no, I've watched every episode since the split.
What are your thoughts been general overall over Raw versus SmackDown?
God, I thought SmackDown started real strong, Raj, and last week it was probably the worst show I've seen out of the two. And I thought, man, the first 2 weeks, the first week I thought was great. Second week went down a little, but was still good. But for whatever reason, man, I feel like it's just come crashing down since. And it's unfortunate, man. I think I think they have parts that they're just not utilizing, and I can't Raj, you know what the most exciting thing I would be excited about if I were there, bro? If I had Bray Wyatt and Baron Corbin on the same side, roster, that would be a main event. The personalities you could play off of these two guys, the talent is there as far as I'm concerned. But again, man, it just comes down to the writing and the storytelling. So I thought they started hot. I think they've lost a lot.
Yeah, I guess also, what are your thoughts on SmackDown? As it's always been kind of the B show. Do you think they're doing enough to get rid of that stigma for the show, or does it still feel like the B show to you?
Well, I think it definitely has felt like the B show because Cena hasn't been there. I think you put Cena back on that show, obviously it's going to lift that show up. But I got to tell you, man, the talkers are on SmackDown. I mean, there's no doubt about that. That the guys that can talk, I think, are really on SmackDown, and that's like I said. I mean, I give the benefit of the doubt. The loss of Cena hurt them the last couple of weeks, but I think once he's back in the fold, that level should come up a little bit.
Yeah, there's a good chance Cena might not be back until the end of December or January, because he's going to start filming his reality show in the middle of October. I don't know if they'll bring him back just to work, a month and then go again, or just keep him off of TV, which they've been doing since SummerSlam, even though he's been wrestling. So we had that. Rhino and Slater got the win. They did a promo for the Charlotte versus Sasha Banks match at Clash of Champions, which is noteworthy because there was a report last week from the Wrestling Observer that WWE staff was told not to advertise that match. So I don't know if something changed, but they had a promo for that match tonight. Then we got to the main event. 6 matches. They didn't go the full 3 hours. This started a little bit after the 2-hour mark, but AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose in the main event. The fans seem to support Styles more than Dean Ambrose, actually by the end by a lot. Were you surprised by the fan reaction?
You know what's so sad, Raj? And again, I get, like, every time I open my mouth, I get beat up. So I have to specify the Dean Ambrose character. I'm not talking about the Dean Ambrose human being. I'm talking about the character. Look at what they did with him last week on SmackDown, Raj, to paint the picture that this guy's crazy. Okay? He poured a lot of sugar in his coffee, and he sprayed hairspray and smelt it. That's their idea of making this guy crazy. They're not giving him anything to work with. The character, not the guy. The guy is busting his ass in the ring. I mean, he broke his back tonight. He always does. But a guy is not crazy because he's putting too much sugar in his coffee. And that's why they don't react to him. And we know who the fan base is. That's why they're reacting to AJ. You know who the base is. And they're not giving Ambrose enough for the people to care about him. For crying out loud, Raj, when Austin was champion, he was driving beer trucks into the arena. This guy was champion and putting too much sugar in his coffee. That's the problem. Yeah. I mean, I can't explain it any more clear than that. They got to give these guys something to sink their teeth into.
Yeah, that's kind of low level, low card heel stuff that they've been doing. And I agree, they have not been booking Dean Ambrose like a main eventer, like a top guy. But yeah, I think fans have turned on him a little. I think Ambrose just his matches haven't been that great as champ. It's been kind of a disappointing run. And
but think about this though now, Raj. Where did they go with him from here? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was, he wasn't getting over to begin with. Where the heck did they go? Now, again, he has the ability to get over, but they've got to give him the material. So again, if they continue to give this guy nothing, he's just going to continue to fall down the food chain.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I think it's clear that this is still going to be the program for a while. This is the main event for the house shows for the next couple months. So this is going to be your main event for the next few SmackDown branded pay-per-views. But yeah, AJ Styles, in my opinion, I think he's been WWE's MVP this year. I mean, he's just been phenomenal, no pun intended, in these matches. Had fantastic matches with Reigns, the pay-per-view matches with Reigns, with Cena, and here with Dean Ambrose. I thought this was Dean Ambrose's best match this year. So I thought it was a cool ending, cool seeing AJ with the title. I don't think anyone would have predicted this a year ago. Because AJ is not the kind of guy that you would think that Vince would put, with that belt.
Yep.
So yeah, overall, how would you rate this pay-per-view?
What are we rating it on? 5?
Yeah, let's do 5.
I mean, again, I wasn't bored by this. I thought a lot of the matches were good. I'd say 3.5.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say 3.5. And you know what, too, Raj? Maybe it was because it was a little shorter, which doesn't make any sense to me either. If they came in at 2 hours and 35 minutes, right? Why didn't they put the Corbin match on the show?
They need something to fill in that kickoff show, I guess. But to me, you know, I honestly didn't mind that it ended a little early. It's not like a pay-per-view where you're spending the money. I think this is pretty much a network special. I know DirecTV wasn't carrying it. I don't think most carriers were. So I think almost everyone that saw it on the WWE.
Is that the deal, Raj? Are they not going to carry like the SmackDown pay-per-views, or was that just a one-off?
I think the pay-per-views that were originally scheduled as pay-per-views, so Hell in a Cell and all those will still be carried on pay-per-view, but all these new ones that they added since the brand extension will not be.
So these have just basically become super shows on the WWE network.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a couple apps that carry them and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's a WWE network.
Oh, interesting. Thing. Okay.
Yeah, and so you know they don't need the
that makes sense. Yeah.
Because I mean, if you didn't have the WWE network, I can only imagine that this show would have done very poorly as far as pay-per-view buys go.
Yeah, I would have to agree, but I did not know that, so I'm glad you told me about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I thought the main event really saved the show. I didn't think it was bad before it. I just felt like there was nothing major. It just, like I mentioned, it just felt like a SummerSlam pre-show up until the main event. So it's great stuff. Real quick, we got to talk about DDP Yoga, as always. DDP Yoga, which has changed countless lives. Just look at Mick Foley, Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, a new WWE champion. So many of the past and current roster have benefited immensely from it. Scott Hall, Jake Roberts, we all know about them. And now DDP Yoga has taken it to another level with the DDP Yoga Now app on iOS and Android devices. So you have no excuse because you can take it anywhere. And the cool thing about the new app is that you can track more than just DDP Yoga workouts. By connecting it to a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, you can track your calories, heart rate in real time, whether you're at the gym, on your DDP Yoga mat, or even while you're mowing the lawn. All the fitness tracking features, including plan tracking, measurements, progress photos, and much more are completely free in the app. And DDP Yoga Now subscribers won't get tired of doing the same workouts over again because they've completely added new DDP Yoga 2.0 workouts, weekly live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center, and motivational messages every Monday from DDP himself. DDP even hosts his own cooking show on the app, showing you how to make healthy food taste amazing. Sorry, excuse me. For a limited time, you can get the DDP Yoga DVDs for 15% off, plus 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. Head over to ddpyoga.com/wrestlinginc. Stop procrastinating and get started now. Vince, I know you know a lot of guys that have used DDP Yoga.
Yeah. Here's the thing about DDP, not only DDP Yoga, but DDP. Here's the thing, man, that's really great about what he's doing is this isn't like yoga. Like, this becomes a part of your life. I mean, DDP Yoga almost becomes a way of your life. And, you know, it's just another case in point, man. I was reading about like Scott Hall, over the weekend, and unfortunately he had some issues again, but immediately there's DDP. I got Scott back on track. He's back to DDP Yoga. I'm all over him. And like me knowing DDP, like that is a shoot. If anybody signs up for DDP Yoga, like I don't know how many people Paige has by now, but the fact of the matter is he wants every single one of those people to feel successful, to be successful. That's just how Paige is, man. And that's why I've called him Saint Dallas. What he has done to help all these people. But the fact of the matter is he honestly and truly cares, whether it's Scott Hall or Jake Roberts or somebody signing up for the first time. He isn't just looking to get your check. He really cares that this works for you. And that's just how Paige is. That's why I think it's a phenomenal product.
Yeah, it's fantastic. ddpyoga.com/wrestling. Get the app. So Vince, let's jump into some news. We kind of finished the pay-per-view portion early, but 3 title changes. I mean, 2 were, crowning the first ever, and then the WWE Championship changing. Real quick, Alberto Del Rio was released from WWE. He came back last year and has had just a badly botched run. I mean, the creative on him has just been absolutely just disastrous. what were your thoughts on how he was booked this past year?
Oh God, just terrible, just terrible. But you know what? I'm glad. I'm not going to dwell on that. But here's the thing I'm excited about. I think Alberto Del Rio is a great talent. I always thought he was a great talent. Obviously, there were politics involved in this and everything that goes with wrestling. When that happens, Raj, what happens is the fans wind up getting cheated because we got a great talent here in the prime of his career, and they're misbooking him, and who knows if they're doing that on purpose or whatever. But the good news is now he's free and clear. Now we can see Alberto Del Rio at his best again. Now the fans can enjoy him, and that's the good thing. That's the good thing. He'll be able to go out there, get out from underneath it, do what he does best, and the fans can see the great Alberto Del Rio again. So I think it's a win-win for us.
Also, Paige, his girlfriend of many years, still has a couple of years on her WWE contract. There is always a chance they could release her. It sounds like she wants to be released. Should they try to keep her?
Raj, I said this at the very, very, very beginning when I started watching Paige, and I'm saying it again because let me tell you something. The same thing is going to happen with Bayley. And here was the problem I saw with Paige. She was so young. I started seeing her when she was about 21, 22. She was so young and so talented. And the WWE creative is so god-awful. I mean, can you imagine a 71-year-old man knowing how to write for a 22-year-old girl? Come on, bro. It's ridiculous. I knew that she was too young for them to keep her over for an extended period of time. It's not like a 28-year-old girl came in or a 38-year-old girl came in and that she was going to have a 3 or 4 year run. She was only 22 with her entire career ahead of her. I knew they did not have the talent creatively to match her talent. And slowly but surely, her role on TV was less and less and less and less to the point where it is now. God, let her go. I mean, you could tell she's unhappy. The fans are getting cheated. We haven't seen her on TV. If they hold her to the contract, they don't know what to do with her. I mean, for both sides, I hope she gets her freedom and she can go to a place that knows how to book her and understands her, and the fans can get to enjoy her again.
Yeah, I think I got to agree there. If someone doesn't want to be there, it all usually never works out. I mean, there are some exceptions. I think Shawn Michaels wasn't very happy at points in the late 90s, and it ended up working out. But for the most part, it usually doesn't. And the last thing, CM Punk made his much hyped UFC 203 debut last night. Basically got taken down, pummeled by Mickey Gall. Blocked a rear naked choke attempt, got pummeled some more, and then finally Mickey Gall got the rear naked choke in and tapped him out. Vince, a lot of differing opinions on this whole charade. What are your thoughts?
I just can't listen. I worked with Punk very, very early at TNA, the Asylum years, maybe for a couple of weeks. I don't think I ever even had a conversation with him. So I don't know the real guy. I don't know him. But Raj, people that are dogging him, like, it just freaking blows my mind. CM Punk had a dream of competing in the UFC. He left the WWE because he wasn't happy. He left a hell of a lot of money on the table, and he went into an area where he was walking into the unknown. He did not know what to expect, but it was a dream. It's what he wanted to do. The guy trained every single day to get ready for this fight. You know how seriously he took this fight. In my mind, I cannot even understand locking yourself in a cage with another human being when you know there is the possibility of you coming out of that cage never physically being the same again. You got to have a loose screw to be a UFC fighter. I don't care what anybody says. So the guy goes in the cage, he has the fight, and now that it turned out the way he did, everybody's dogging him. And I said it in a tweet yesterday. I said, you know what? There's a lot of people that talk about doing it, and there are very few people that do. And CM Punk did it. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't freaking matter. And I have all the respect in the world for him. The loss is secondary for me. The fact that he wanted to do it, the fact that he busted his ass to get there, and the fact that he lost doesn't change the way I look at the guy at all.
Really? I see. I don't get that, I guess. Like let's say for me, if my dream was to jump out of a plane without a parachute and land on those launch pad like some guy recently did, yeah, other people are, don't have the balls to do it. And I trained for 2 months to do it. I jump out and land flat on my face and die. I don't think that's something that people should be like, oh well, he did it. He did what he wanted to do. That's cool, because ultimately at the end of it, I was in over my head. I did something that I wasn't at that level for. I didn't do it right. And I don't think that should be respected. I think if he really wanted to be a MMA fighter, he should have. There's the path that so many other people have shown, where you start off, you fight a couple amateurs, and I'm sure Bellator would have, signed him to fight amateurs. And then you move on to higher level talent. You just don't go in there and get crushed. And then everyone's like, oh, well, that's something to respect. I just don't see that.
Well, but Raj, I hear what you're saying, but Raj, I think you got to take his age into account. If he were 25 years old, I think he could have went that path. But I mean, the age that the guy is at, what, bro? He's going to go through amateurs and fight amateurs. He's going to be 40 years old in a couple of years. Then what?
At least he doesn't get crushed. This isn't like basketball where this is someone pounding you in the face. I mean, it could lead to serious injury.
But Raj, do you not believe that he wasn't convinced that he could have been successful at this?
If he was, he's delusional, and people around him should have told him that he couldn't. Just look at the level that the UFC stars are at. And then even if you look at the regional promotions, I mean, the guys that are, higher up, the level of talent to get to that. And this guy just starting off 2 years ago, when CM Punk first quit, you would hear about him doing jujitsu at with the Gracies and stuff. So I thought he had been doing it for a while, but he basically came in completely green when he started training. So he went in basically signing with the UFC before even being close to anywhere ready to be even sparring. So no, I don't think he went into this legitimately thinking he could be a success. And if he did, he's crazy.
Raj, I hear what you're saying, but you know what this can be compared to? This can be compared to the Tim Tebow situation that just took place. The guy didn't make it in football. He was a great collegiate player. Everybody said he wasn't going to make it on the pro level. He didn't. He decides he's going to play baseball now, and the Mets signed him to a contract. Now, let's face it, Raj, part of the reason he got signed to the contract was because of his name, much like UFC signing CM Punk. But should that be held against him?
They're not having him, Tim Tebow go play in the World Series, He's signed with the minor leagues, right? He's doing the practice squad or whatever that is. He's not, being put on the big stage. I think that's a big difference. And again, just the risk of injury, I think it's just too great. I understand why they did it. When they signed CM Punk, he was hot. He had just done the Cold Cabana podcast. He was kind of the talk of the town. But a year went by that dissuaded. So I don't know. I think UFC looked bad in this at the end. CM Punk looked terrible. He cut a great promo afterwards, but I just think he just looked like a moron for trying it, and UFC looked incompetent for letting him.
So where do you think it goes from here, Raj?
I think, first of all, I think UFC, if they want to stay credible, they've avoided a lot of these freak show, fights. I mean, they brought in Brock Lesnar, who's an NCAA champion. James Toney was a former boxing heavyweight champion. So this doesn't really compare to those. But since the Dana White era, they've avoided those freak show fights. You leave that to Bellator. CM Punk really wants to become an MMA fighter. There is a path. You go fight a couple amateurs in Bellator, you'll still get a ton of money because it still do ratings. And, you know, and if you are doing well and it's something that you can do, try to become a pro, you know. But his skill level, I mean, you just saw it. It wasn't even close to there. It was beyond a squash match. It was, you know, it was just amazing what I saw.
Well, Raj, I want to remind you, when I got in a steel cage with Booker T, a lot of people said Vince Russo couldn't be the WCW heavyweight champion, Raj. You know, so you know, anything can happen, bro. Come on.
And that is a good point.
No,
I
see your point of view, Raj, but I think age had a lot to do with it. I think he had one shot to do it because of his age. He only wanted to do it on the big stage. If he were 10 years younger, I think it would have went a different route. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that he's okay. He didn't get, you know, right. I mean, he looked like hell afterwards. His ear looked like a piece of pizza hanging off his head. His face was bashed up, but you know, it could have been a lot worse. Yeah. I just hope the UFC learns from it. And I hope if Punk really wants to fight again, he does it the right way.
Yeah.
Well, Vince, you've got a lot of stuff going on. Tell us about Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, man, we're really getting that ready, Raj. And Raj, is just so funny to me because it's like nobody believes it. I don't believe it, but like contracts have been signed and it's happening. And we're legitimately, our first show is going to be on the Hunt channel on the Dish Network, channel 266 on October 9th. We have our first TV taping October 1st, so it's happening. And I'm real excited about it, to just be in the trenches and to be able to do what I do. And listen, man, people know I sit back and I watch Raw and I criticize a lot. But I'm also willing to put my money where my mouth is. I think I know some of the mistakes that are being made in wrestling today, and I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to try to do something about it. So I'm glad that I have that opportunity, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. If anybody lives in the Colorado area, you can go to RockyMountainPro.com, and tickets are already on sale for the first taping.
Awesome. Well, one more thing, I guess, is a lot of people are asking about this. The stuff with Sasha Banks. Do you have any comment on everything that's happened?
Oh, God. Yeah, first of all, let me make this perfectly clear again. I am a fan of Sasha Banks, okay? I am a fan of hers. I have no problem saying that. When I was sitting there watching the promo like everybody else, I felt, Vince Russo, that she slighted those women that participated in those matches. And I don't think she had the right to, not really understanding the women, not knowing the women, not having conversations why they did it, not knowing why the matches were booked. I felt she talked out of school and she belittled some great female athletes that I worked with. So I called her on it. You know, that's all. I'm still a fan of Sasha Banks. I just think she spoke out of school. And a lot of people saying to me, well, Vince, the WWE writes their promos. No. When something is a worked shoot like that, and you're going to put over some girls and not put over other girls, I'm sorry, Sasha's got to throw the red flag to whoever is handing her that promo and say, you know what, I really think a lot of other women, not just Lita and Trish, paved the way for us. I'm sorry, and don't give me the old she's going to lose a spot if she opens her mouth, because that's BS. I never worked with one single person, who lost their spot in wrestling because they disagreed with a script or they disagreed with verbiage that was given to them. That's just an excuse. When they handed her that and she had to go out and say that, she should have realized, man, I'm only putting two girls over by doing that. I'm slighting a hell of a lot of others, and that's how I took it.
Yeah. Were you surprised at like all the backlash from that?
Oh, absolutely. But you know, Raj, that's the thing with this. Well, yeah, you know what I call them now, Raj? I call them the "you deserve it" crowd. That's the problem with this "you deserve it" crowd. You say anything about any of their beloved, forget about it, bro. And I use the analogy, Raj. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a big San Francisco Giant fan. They've crapped the bed since the All-Star break. I have not watched a Giant game in 3 weeks. I've been a Giant fan since I'm 7. When the Giants stink, I can sit here and say the Giants stink. I have no problem saying that. You can't argue with me that Sami Zayn has a character. You can't argue with me that the Kevin Owens prize fighter moniker fits him. How can anybody argue that with me? But that's the, we are awesome. You deserve it. They do no wrong. You can't say anything, even in a constructive manner. And all I'm trying to be is constructive. I've said a million times, if they played Kevin Owens's weight and Kevin Owens's appearance into his character, it would work more for him. But the fact that he appears the way he does and they call him a prize fighter, that doesn't work for him. And I'm saying that to help the creative with Kevin Owens, because I think he is very talented. He can cut a promo, but they're not doing him any service by the way they're handling his character. That's my point.
Well, we'll have to leave it at that. Vince, we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks after the Clash of Champions. Thanks again, as always, for joining us. And thank everybody.
Oh, Raj, there's another pay-per-view in 2 weeks.
I think it's 2 weeks. Clash of Champions.
I know. All right, I'll be there. Raj.
All right. Hopefully, Matt Morgan will get his stuff figured out. He'll be back tomorrow night, and he'll join me and Vince after Clash of Champions. Stay tuned tomorrow night after Raw for the Wrestling Podcast, and thank you, and see you tomorrow.